Good evening. My name is Natasha Marosi. I am a shark conservationist and researcher. Originally from New York City, I've lived in Fiji now for about 6 years. I wear a few different professional hats that kind of represent my passion for the ocean. And I'm the conservation director for a dive outfit called Benga Adventure Divers. I'm the founder of the Fiji Shark Lab, and I'm currently in the 3rd year of my PhD with the University of Exeter. Thank you, Lewis. About 2 weeks ago, he reached out to me and asked me if I would speak about my research. So you guys, this is a little bit different from the norm of what we've had in this course. So if you guys will indulge me, we'll take a quick dive into my background and my study system. And you guys, I'm not a genetics whiz by any means, so please just, let's have some fun. And I'll talk to you a little bit about how I'm putting kinship analysis to good use in my research. So, if I can get this right, then we're good. Okay, so, let's see. So, Benga Adventure Divers is a dive operation located in Viti Levu, Fiji. Sorry, guys, something's not happening here. Okay, so we're shark diving specialists, and we run dives out of the Benga Lagoon in Fiji. We like to call ourselves a conservation group running a dive shop because our main objective is the research, advocacy, and protection of Fiji's shark populations and the protection of the ecosystems that they call home. Here you see, so here's our little Fiji, and you see Viti Levu is like the main island, and on the right you see a whole bunch of little markers which demarcate the dive sites that we use primarily for our research and dive operations. And if you look up in the top left corner, you'll see an area, I don't know how to use this, oh, here we go, Shark Reef Marine Reserve. So Shark Reef is our flagship site for our dive ecotourism activities. Okay, but most importantly, it's my study site. So this incredible site was actually made possible by our founder, Mike Neumann, who had a dream way back in the day to create a shark sanctuary in Fiji. With the help of a few bull sharks and very, very many village meetings, about 20 years ago, the Shark Reef was actually designated a marine park area in cooperation with the Ministry of Fisheries and the village of Naloa that owned the traditional fishing rights. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Sorry, you guys. Oh, there we go. There we go. So in exchange for not fishing, a user fee goes to the village of Naloa for every diver diving the reserve. To date, we've paid over 375,000 Fiji dollars to the village. We collect basically a marine park levy for every day somebody dives on the reserve at $25. And this money is actually used by the village for infrastructure, for education projects, and other projects. But the real win-win here is that Shark Reef, in essence, is a fish bank, right? So the spillover is basically in the area that's the unprotected fishing grounds. It's called an ngolingoli in Fiji. And so the villagers can fish, reap the benefits of the spillover in their unprotected area. Our youth program provides for education and sustainable income by training unemployed, village, what? I don't know what's going on here, I didn't do it. Here we go. Sorry, you guys. I'm a little clumsy at this. I swear I only pressed it once. So we have a village youth program, and we train unemployed village youth to become dive professionals. We also train fish wardens. So up here on the top right was the class that we held a few weeks ago, which was really cool because we trained some of the villagers from the village of Naloa to be fish wardens. This is in conjunction with the Ministry of Fisheries, and some of our own guys as well, as you can see on the bottom right corner. And this is a little bit off the track, but it's really, really cool because the villagers have expressed an interest in taking part, in protecting Shark Reef. And so what we've done is we started a new partnership with them whereby we are paying them to go and patrol, Shark Reef. and it gives them a sense of empowerment, and it's extra eyes on the reef because right now it's just us patrolling with fisheries and sometimes with the Navy. Okay. So, after 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and very many research publications, Shark Reef was officially gazetted in 2014, becoming Fiji's first national marine park. Within the legislation, the government gave us, Benga Adventure Divers, stewardship over the reserve. So basically, we're the only ones that are allowed to do anything there, to dive there. It's a full no-take marine area. So in addition to our normal dive operations, we conduct reef checks, biodiversity surveys, run conservation projects, tons of research, and of course, we patrol. Because at the end of the day, the biggest threat to biodiversity on Shark Reef is poaching. Sorry, I'm like, oh. And then our latest endeavor has been the launch of the Fiji Shark Lab. So this is especially exciting because this was a dream of mine since I moved to Fiji 6 years ago, and I was finally able to do it. And so October 2023, we filed for charitable trust designation. So super excited. We currently, basically our mission is the research, education, and conservation of elasmobranchs in Fiji. And right now we've got three research projects underway. So we've got, obviously, the research on the bull sharks. We've got an interspecific competition in apex marine predators. And then we've got this new, with one of my best friends, Dr. Kirsten Glaus. It's a taxonomy of coral mask ray in Fiji, so very exciting. Next. Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't touch upon the economic importance of the shark diving industry in Fiji. So it's well documented that shark diving tourism brings in a lot of money, especially in a lot of the other sectors of the tourism industry. Now, in 2011, which is over 10 years ago, Pew Charitable Trust funded a research project that showed that $42 million are coming into Fiji every year from shark diving tourism. Now, this is over a decade ago, so now the projected estimate is about 100 million today, which is really a phenomenal amount of money. And as you can see, it's airlines, it's hotels, it's vendors, it's activities. So sharks are pretty much worth more alive than dead. And for us, the shark tourism is the way that we fund our conservation projects and our research. So it's super important for us. Okay, so Shark Reef, if you can imagine, is quite sharky. We have 8 different species that you can see on this site. So some of them are transient visitors, and some of them call Shark Reef home. So I think it happens to be an elasmobranch heaven. So we've got everything from your regal tigers on the left, and apologies I didn't put Latin names. I don't know if you guys are sticklers for Latin names, but so Galeocera Cuvier. Then on the right, we've got our tawny nurses, super troublesome tawny nurse, Nebrius ferrugineus. Then on the left bottom, we've got our sticklefin lemons. Do you guys know sharks? I don't know a lot of people, I know you know sharks, but well, sticklefin lemons are awesome because they're different from bevestrosis, the lemons you get like in the Bahamas. Like these guys, Negroprion acutitans, have this really beautiful Marilyn Monroe like beauty mark on the tip of their snout, and of course they always have the perpetual smile. But anyway, so then we've got the really cool, very neurotic but kind of bashful black-tip reef sharks on the right. Those are resident to the reef, and then we've got our wily. These guys with the downturned frowny mouth are our white-tip reef sharks. So Trianodon obesus, and then on the left bottom, I call them the gray reef shark mafia because these guys are a little crazy. Some of my shark researcher colleague friends call them the meth heads of the shark community. Have you ever heard that, Florian? So, and then on the right, on the bottom, we've got the sexy silvertip sharks. So we've got 8 species in total. I mean, it's really like an underwater paradise. Like we've got it all. Let's see. But our celebrities are the bull sharks. Okay, and I don't know if you can see in this photo here, but this is like a giant sharknado right here. It's pretty awesome. So Fiji's got like the biggest and the bulkiest bull sharks in the world, I am proud to say. And divers come from all over the world to dive with Fiji's bull sharks and to dive on the Shark Reef Marine Reserve. We are basically the ultimate success story. So we went from a dying barren reef to one that's thriving with biodiversity. We went from 150 species of fish to over 500. We went from seeing 1 to 2 species of sharks to 8, and we went from seeing 4 to 6 individual bull sharks on a single dive to 100 in our peak season. So if you could imagine, this epic, epic sharknado. Yeah, just pretty amazing. So, can you tell what is so special about Shark Reef? Well, it's the sharks, of course. And we have sharks that have been visiting for over 20 years, like these 2 bull shark brothers. So all the sharks are completely different individuals with completely different life histories, skill sets, and personalities. And what we do is we log them, we catalog them in the database of the Marine Park, which has been in existence for now over 2 decades. So this is Long John and his brother White Nose. Long John, let's see, in order for us to name a shark, we name them on the basis of an identifier. So it's something permanent and something that you can reliably identify repeatedly, right? Bull sharks are not like your tiger shark or your whale shark that have very distinctive patterning. They do have a counter shading, but what we have to do is we have to go by something that's really obvious. So for instance, on Long John, we've got, you see his funky tail here? So this is kind of reminiscent of the peg leg from Long John Silver, the pirate. So he was named Long John. And White Nose, as you can see, has this very distinctive white parallel line across the snout. Now, yes. Oh, I have 10 minutes left? Oh, shit. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. Do you guys want to stay? Okay, we'll rush through it. Will you guys stay with me even if we go off the internet? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I can't help it. Sometimes I go, okay, let's do it. All right, sorry. Okay, so even though they're brothers, they couldn't be more different, right? So Long John is like laid back, he's super chill, he's got like this no drama kind of competition style, right? And I did mention before, we do provision, so we feed. There's 3 different types of ways that we feed the sharks. We have a hand feed, we have an aerial feed by a suspended bait bin, and we have a substrate feed, which is basically tuna heads, whatever falls on the ground, and everybody kind of scraps around. Well, Long John is a skilled aerialist, right? And then we've got White Nose, complete opposite. He's what I call like the prince of Shark Reef, right? He's kind of like throws himself his weight around. He's super brash, super bold, and he's a specialized hand feeder. And he's our harbinger for like basically for us to tell when the mating season's over, because White Nose is basically like gets it on with like all the ladies on the reef who are of age, of course. And so depending on the climate and the season, like our mating season will shift a little bit, but it's usually December, January. So all the males are gone during the mating season that are mature enough to get it on. And if the last one coming back is White Nose, then we know mating season is over. Oh, can you please keep the recording going? Oh, good. Everyone wants to hear. Cool. Okay. Can we do that, Lewis? Okay. So. Now here, this is my girl Crook. Oops, sorry, I got excited. So she's a big, badass female bull shark. This is my favorite bull shark. I have many favorite bull sharks, and I love them all, but this is my girl. So she was named for the crooks in the corners of her mouth, being repeatedly hooked like over the course of many years. Probably she's a very, very adept bait thief as well. Crook is a highly dominant female, and she has a very, very dynamic personality. She's one of the handful of individuals that I would venture to say has a sense of humor for a shark, okay? Now, this is not for today's talk. If you guys want to talk to me about that, we can talk after class, or you guys can shoot me an email, but that's definitely another story. Crook is also my underwater mentor, And she's pretty much taught me like mostly everything that I've learned about bull sharks. So in the 6 years that I've known her, she's been like my underwater mentor for shark behavior. Okay, so how did I find myself researching shark behavior? Well, organically, of course. So originally I came to Fiji in 2018 to work in shark conservation. I was like, wow, they have this crazy database, 20 years strong. Let me create this shark adoption program because I can teach people about personality, behavior, and biology, but raise money, you know what I mean, for shark conservation, and also give people like a little bit of a window into the lives of sharks and maybe have them fall in love with like an animal that they didn't think had that, you know what I mean, was that dynamic. So I was basically doing 5 days a week in the water with the sharks, watching everything like a freaking stalker. Okay, I was obsessed, like, and the more that I saw, the more I was just blown away because I was watching, and of course I'm gathering everything anecdotally, so I was watching like the semblance of like hierarchy and dominance, and I was looking at friendships and clashing and cooperation and personality, and I was like, oh my God. So I decided to test like all these theories with science. And so my current shark research is on sociality in this aggregation of bull sharks on the Shark Reef Marine Reserve. Specifically, I'm looking at associations, personality, dominance and hierarchy, and of course, kinship. On Shark Reef, I have a really rare opportunity to study social behavior in an apex marine predator. So usually people thought that the general rule of thumb or thought process was that apex predators, sharks, are usually solitary, right? But over the last decade or so, there's been a bunch of research to show that sharks are forming various groups and aggregations that kind of, well, they vary species to species, but they also vary in size, longevity, and function. There's different underpinnings, so you've got social groups and then aggregations, maybe aggregations that are formed by social means, and I am not going to go on in that, but this site offers an opportunity because think about it. We have 20 years of bringing together an aggregation of individuals, 20 years of provisioning. So essentially, we've created like this safe space where sharks can interact socially. So it's super, super exciting. It's like we're fostering relationships, we're giving opportunities for learning new skill sets. And all of this can have real implications for the evolution of social behavior, but also social strategies. And so we can use some of these as tools, like some of this information from the research, to use in managing and conserving the population. Oops. Okay, so we did some pilot work, some foundational work on this aggregation to establish whether a social network exists, right? What we did was we took presence-absence data for about 13 years, but presence-absence data basically was a shark on the reserve on that dive day or not, right? And using that and running a bunch of statistical analysis, we came up with a non-random network characterized, and the association pattern was essentially one of preferred companionships and casual acquaintances. Now, this was super exciting and it was novel, but we were not able to rule out spatiotemporal overlap as the reasoning for the perceived sociality in the population. And so this is where my research comes into play, because social interactions are super complex. You need more than just data on presence and absence, right? So my research is kind of delving a little bit deeper and investigating fine-scale interactions between individuals. So here, if you can see, we've got arrows which are indicating the behavior, but basically I've got this shark right here, his name is Mogul, and I've got a shark here named Chunky. And so Mogul, both male bull sharks, I named Mogul, I didn't name Chunky. Well, Mogul does what we call a turn back, right, follow. because essentially he's coming in one direction, then he changes his direction to fall in line in one body length behind another individual, and then they're going off here into the distance. So, yeah, so this is called a turn back follow. Let's see. Sorry, you guys. So I'm essentially using like focal follows and video observations to observe directed interactions between individuals, and I am quantifying behavior, so I can measure personality traits, look at association patterns, look at dominance hierarchy. So here we have another example of, so you essentially can see a social relationship between these two individuals. This here is shark bite. He was named for his first dorsal fin, which was a predatory bite by a tiger shark. So this is shark bite, this is Big Papa. So you see some lead follow behavior here in the upper right corner, and mind you, these behaviors took place over a 5-minute period. So you have a lead follow here, you've got a parallel swim here, and then another lead follow here, and this is in the back of the reserve. Where I was, basically, the feed was taking place behind me, so all of these behaviors were happening outside of the feed. Let's see. Okay, so why is this important? Well, how animal societies are structured can have fundamental consequences for ecology and evolution. Group members can derive many benefits from grouping, which can include social learning, cooperation, access to resources and to mates, but of course, any of these benefits have to be traded off against the costs of grouping, which are pretty much competition for finite resources, competition for mates, disease and parasite transmission. The benefits and costs directly impact the fitness of an individual and can impact the viability of a population. So, for my research, what we did was I included about 163 named bull shark individuals, and then I made these little ID tags so that we could tag another 50 unnamed, unknown individuals. So, like I was explaining before, you need to be able to reliably identify an individual, and if there's a shark that we can't name, essentially flawless, then we can't use them to see what association patterns are like, we can't focal follow them, we can't take genetic samples. So we tagged 50 sharks with these really cool, I used like a prop speed, anti-foul and stuff. And actually this one on the bottom, I'm sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but this one on the bottom, number 36, actually named her Zombie. So she's in the database as Zombie now, because I was coding archival footage and I kept seeing her, and obviously she didn't have a tag like 3-5 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, that's 36. So we know, who she is. But yeah, so tags allow me to code the behavior and take samples. Then I took biopsies from both the named and the tagged sharks. So we do all of our work underwater to minimize any negative impact to the sharks. We don't fish anybody out, we do everything underwater. So I used basically like a pneumatic spear gun outfitted with a custom biopsy probe tip, and this guy right here, this is Batman. So Batman, so they're so funny because, I know this is another tangent, but they all react differently. And it's like us getting bit by a mosquito or by a bee, if we get stung by a bee. So like, oh gosh, it was so funny with Batman. He completely wigged out, and then he refused to be around me for like 2 months after this. And some of the other ones are like, oh, sorry, okay, I'm sorry, you guys. All right, next. Is everybody ready to run out and have a beer? So I know, okay, so I also measured the sharks with a laser photogrammetry device. This was so that I could look at the impacts of social behavior on fitness, right? So I take multiple measurements and I compare them to see the growth rate over time. I'm also using the measurements to see whether assortment patterns are influenced by size. That is to say, whether they like hanging out with bull sharks of similar morphological features. Okay, next, so then I was deploying some camera tags to see whether social behaviors went beyond the study site to when in free ranging. And this was a lot of fun because there's obviously cameras plus accelerometer, gyroscope, magnometer, all these fun, cool things to see what's going on with the sharks. Sorry, I'm rushing. Okay. And so, well, where does kinship fall, right? I'm talking about all this other stuff. Okay. So kinship, I'm looking at in the context of the social network, okay? So here's my research questions. I'm asking, what's the role of relatedness in driving association patterns? Does relatedness predict the structure of the network? Does kinship play a role in driving dominance interactions? And is cooperation influenced by kinship? So I was specifically interested in parent-offspring relationships, full and half-sibling pairs, and first cousins. So we requested, I sent out 2 plates of samples, so 188 individuals, to diversity arrays, and I requested the team calculate kinship and relatedness coefficients between the individuals with a preference for using Wang's unbiased estimator in co-ancestry. And then I also requested the following software and algorithms be used. Now, I can't, what do you call it? So I can't really go into, because I'm writing up this chapter, I can't really give you, you know what I mean? So I had to be really careful because I started writing all these things and I'm like, oh, I can't, because I'm writing up this chapter for publication. But pretty much we requested Wang's co-ancestry, Colony 2, and GCTA, which Lewis has just gone over. And obviously we had Mr. Wang, who's phenomenal, the master of, so yeah, so this is basically for the kinship relatedness analysis, what I requested from diversity arrays. And so what's the significance? Well, this will give us a blueprint of how our aggregation is structured, right? This kinship analysis. So Fiji's bull sharks are an insular population. They're genetically closed and thus vulnerable to extirpation. So bulls are coastal species. They're euhaline species, so they utilize freshwater riverine systems for parturition sites. They're also a K-selected species, so this is characterized by slow growth rate, late-stage sexual maturity, a small amount of young, and therefore they're supremely susceptible to anthropogenic impacts, okay? And this we're talking about overfishing, we're talking about gill netting, pollution, habitat destruction in the form of, in some of the riverine systems, we see a lot of dredging and mining, and basically some of the riverine systems in Fiji have become inhospitable, and so those sites can't be used for parturition anymore. So this kinship analysis will also give us insight into how kinship influences patterns of association and rank position. It will also give us some valuable tools that we can use for future conservation work. I mean, I'm right now in the process, we're working very closely with Ministry of Fisheries on a lot of projects. And so everything that I have that comes back from the research, I'm trying to use in novel ways to kind of help protect this population. So I really, really wish I could share my results with you, but I hope you guys will be keen to, I've got 2 publications that will hopefully come out this year. So if you're like keen to, I will happily send things on. Next. So yeah, so Diversity Arrays is also going to be performing co-analysis with samples that we're taking from bull shark pups in several riverine systems in Fiji by my colleague and good friend, Dr. Kirsten Glaus, in the upper right corner. So we'll use these results and some of the other data that we've taken from tagging pregnant female bulls to inform decisions for scheduling patrols to enforce the gill netting ban in the river. So this is also something I'm super proud, and I know it's going off, but super proud to share. Like 2 years ago, I was actually able to get to work and have the first patrols ever done in Fiji to enforce the gill netting ban. So we have a gill net ban, it's on the books. Gill nets are indiscriminate killers. It's illegal to put them into the rivers or the estuaries or the bays, but quite honestly, it's never been enforced in Fiji. And so we were 2 years ago, through education decks, tons of meetings, tons of back and forth with fisheries, we were able to launch and fund the first set of patrols. And now we have patrols that run pretty much like a month before the parturition season starts for the bulls, and then they'll run several months after in order to give the pups like a good chance of survival. Because with the bull shark pups, what happens is the females go up to the rivers, they give birth. You have about 1 to 13 individuals that can be born, but they remain in the rivers for up to 2 years. It pretty much, depending on the locality, so in Fiji it's about 2 years. There are other places around the world it can be up to 4 years. But in those 2 years, if they even make it through the first month or two, they can be eliminated by a gill net, like in the first, in several days of their lives. So for us, getting ourselves, using the information about parentage and parturition sites and kinship helps us to move conservation projects like this forward. And so there, I wish I could tell you more, but we are out of time. And so if you're interested, please, interested in learning about any of our sharks, please check out some of our websites. This website is the My Fiji Shark website. It will give you fun personality information, information about the life histories of the sharks. We also have sharks that are up for adoption that fund our conservation work. And then we have the Fiji Shark Lab, so the Fiji Shark Lab and its new research and activities website. And then if you guys, I know a lot of you are dive certified, so if you guys are keen to hop over to Fiji, come dive with some sharks, check out Fiji Shark Dive, let me know, talk to me about even collaborating. I'm up for collaborations. I was told I am banned from starting any more projects until I get my PhD next year, but we can talk. So, so thank you very much, you guys. It was an honor to be able to share my work with you. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.